A few weeks ago, I made a video about one of our sisters in Canada was speaking about how racist Canada, can be. Canada itself, is a liberal country, and you think, the liberals always try to act like they're our friends, but in the end, they are just as racist, sometimes in my opinion, more racist than the conservatives can be against black people. So I had a sister write me from Canada. And I want to just kind of share this with you and just go through it because, a lot of our brothers and sisters in Canada, we really don't hear too many of them speaking out about what goes on. And I put a call out there to Canada is that you have any brothers and sisters out there who definitely can express themselves, very well, can articulate the racism and white supremacy in Canada, definitely contact me because I'll definitely be interested to, see what you got. Because like I said, we need to get somebody in Canada. It just haven't came up yet. But the sister said that she had saw, my video, on white supremacy in Canada. And she said she honestly say that we are a pretend nation when it comes to racism. See, the difference is in Canada, you say we try to be polite about it while the Americans are just plain straightforward with it. Now, they say that because of politeness, it makes the racism here more insulting. Is that those who are black Canadian born, such as myself, she says, I often get asked where I come from, despite I know I have a very Canadian accent. Basically, you don't belong there or you some sort of immigrant. Now understand, all them people that's there, they all immigrated from Europe. So you should ask them where they come from. That was just, yeah, where you come from? Where your people from? Ask that question because they don't belong there. Now, she says, I just left an equity and diversity. Oh, God. When you hear that word equity, liberal central, and diversity workshop today. And those running the workshop and those who are on their inclusion boards are all white. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. They're talking about diversity and inclusion, and Becca's teaching it. They won't even hire a black person to do diversity and inclusion or let black people run that. No, they don't. They're going to tell you the same people that cause the problems when they have a diversity issue, right? It's the same people that's going to be telling you about diversity. God. She says, what these sort of organizations fail to realize is the initiative may be there, but the sad reality is we as black Canadians are not invited to the table. And decisions are being made for us when our black voices are not even present. I'm not surprised by that. It's not like we have a present voice in America either. The difference with us is that we have knocked down a lot of doors. We did a lot of screaming, yelling, and we put a lot of foot to pavement to get to where we at today. That's just that simple. She said the prime example where America is far ahead of us, they see the list of 5 major Canadian banks. So you can check online and see for yourself. So she talked about Scotia Bank, Toronto Dominion, Royal Bank, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, the CIBC, and the Bank of Montreal. She said all of the above 5 Canadian banks do not even have not one black male or female on their board of directors. Yet they all say they are equal opportunity employers. Yes, they sound good on paper, but they're not good in practice. That's how white supremacy work, even on the left wing, right? He said, please call these banks out publicly, on your channel, and don't get me started on recruitment agencies, advertising firms, etc. Say the more educated a black woman is in Canada with international experience, the more she is told you're overqualified and not suitable for the job. So I literally wasted 2 years of my life trying to find a job and gave up and decided to work for myself. And there are many sisters in Canada who have been unemployed for a year or more. So it's more common and never discussed because of pride, when the reality is that it is just plain denial of opportunity. Let me stop there. As long as you depend on the white supremacist for your daily bread, he or she can do whatever they want to do to you. They can say you're overqualified just because you know more, because they're threatened by an educated black man or woman. They're threatened by that because you're going to know more than them. You're going to show them up, etc. You're a major threat. And what you decided to do, sister, and what you learn is I need to work for myself. I need to do for self. You have people out here that is actually against doing for self. When you sit up here and you're going to depend on these folks, what they do to you, it is what it is, because you need to get out here and do for self the best way you can. And one thing I know about black people, when we put our mind to something, we gonna get it done. But we have gotten lazy in a lot of ways in this country. And also, we can say Canada too. We have gotten lazy. We say, let's go just depend on the white man to give us something. Right when he wants you, depending on him. Because as long as you're dependent on him, you're not doing nothing for yourself. We need to get up out of that. We need to be dependent on ourselves, dependent on our own communities for our daily bread. Now, she continued to say, at least in America, you say you have affirmative action. They say in Canada, we don't have this. He said we just have employment equity. He said, which is just a window dressing word to say we hire visible minorities, but it's not enforced in any way, nor it say, are there any quotes or mandatory requirements or obligations to hire visible minorities so that way it looks good on paper. Sister, let me say something to you about that word minority. Get the word minority out your lexicon. Say black. Say black Canadians. Just say that. Because if you say minorities, they're going to hire everybody else but black folk. That's what we have learned the hard way with these people in America. Now, you mentioned affirmative action, and I responded to you in the email, but I'm going to say, publicly about affirmative action. So about affirmative action, even Dr. Claude Anderson say that it should actually go away because it does not benefit black folk at all. Affirmative action is more benefited by white women. White women take those, set asides from affirmative action, bring it back to the white community, white husband, etc. Right? White women benefit more because she is considered a minority. White LGBT is considered a minority. White disabled is considered a minority. You understand? Now, white men are considered a minority, but all those other groups, that's just the white community itself. When it comes to affirmative action, more white women have moved up with affirmative action than any other time. Then after them, you're going to have the Asians, and you're going to have the Arabs and East Indians and all these different groups, Native Americans, Hispanics, all these different groups, then black. So even though you have affirmative action, when it was first created, it was for black Americans to help us out, get jobs. But it was changed after Kennedy died to minority, and they finessed black people out of getting what they needed to take care of themselves. And now affirmative action is just don't benefit black people no more. And then the interesting part, Asians are filing lawsuits against affirmative action. They benefited off affirmative action way more than black folks have. Just because they don't get into a certain college, it's affirmative action that prevented me. You're not entitled to get no college. It's a competition anyway. So the sister continued, just sharing my feelings, but I wanted my opinions not to be shared identifying me, which of course we're not going to do that. She wanted us to disclose her anonymously. Of course, we always would do that if we share something publicly. And she said a conflict of interest reasons, but just sharing a tip that you can look into and research. She said there was even an article in the Toronto Star about a black female lawyer working at a major law firm, and her experience was pretty ghastly. She said you can also check out the French side of Canada. It's as if black French Canadians don't even exist, is what the sister says. So I guess they're practicing a Latin American strategy. In Latin America, they don't try to put black people on anything. You look at the news in Latin America, there's no black people on the news for the most part. Movies, they're not on the news. Even the indigenous people that's dark, almost about my color or so, they don't put them either. But if they do put them in movies or shows, they're the maids, they're the criminals, they're, things like that, right? So they're playing a Latin American strategy where you don't exist. Only the white people. It's all white supremacy, whether it's done in Latin America or whether it's done in Canada. Y'all are a liberal stronghold. And, Lord, I wouldn't want to even deal with that personally. I would not. But we know there's a lot of white supremacy going on. We hear about the police brutality that goes on in Canada. And I remember they had this one sister that was actually a journalist. She wanted to come and start doing some reporting here, but, whatever news station she worked with, a conflict of interest. But we definitely looking for a Canadian person to want to come in and tell the real about, all they policies as racist against black people. Because listen, the purpose of me creating African Diaspora News Channel is to bring the stories of the diaspora. And for me, the African diaspora is all black people globally. And we got to share what goes on with us. And of course, like I said, as time go along, we would get these people. I believe that, by the Lord, we would get all the right people, because people could come, but you got to have the right people that connect with your audience too. Because we could have somebody all day long. We could find a reporter very easily and pay, but it's they got to be the right person. They got to connect with the audience. They got to understand the mission. They have to understand the assignment. And I rather hold off until we get somebody that understands the assignment, or who's very passionate, about black people in Canada and all of that. That's what I would like. So yeah, if that's you, and you that kind of person, and you've done. Now this is the thing. I've had people, respond to me when I say things like this. You got to have a body of work though. We're at a level we can't just take, someone that has nothing done. And I don't mind working with somebody that's just starting out, but I have to see you done something. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to have a bunch of, matter of fact, I don't even like dealing with people who's established content creators. I don't like dealing with them because it's too much ego to go along with them. I like new people who just started and work with them. I love that because from my experience, it works out a lot better when they just starting versus getting somebody established already and the ego comes in and it is what it is, right? You live and learn. But to my brothers and sisters in Canada, like I said, keep your head up. Fight the power. That's for sure. We talking about the white supremacists. Fight them for sure. Don't let them treat you any kind of way. Stand up for yourself. What you got to be about doing for self. If you depend on these people, you're going to be unemployed 10 years. They're not here to make sure black people are good. We, as black people, got to make sure that we are good. But brothers and sisters, let me know what you think about, this email here from, Canada. And like I said, I greatly appreciate, getting these particular emails. I also got to find an email I got from so long ago from a woman from the Netherlands that talked about when I made a video about South Africa. And I said they need to go back to their homeland. And that lady was just going in about how they don't even want them back over there. So that was interesting. I got to find the email and do a video on that one. It's been a little while ago for that. But yeah, keep y'all head up out there. We'll see you on the next one.